Good morning, all. So, today is a little bit different, and I am going to be honest and level with you all. This is probably, apart from the first ever video, the most nervous I have felt recording an episode. And some of you may have seen, I think it was during the last Feedback Friday we did, when I mentioned that one of my friends, clients and watchers of the Corona Diaries sent me a message asking me to give my opinion on regret. And since then, about a week's passed, the way these are kind of pre-recorded, it's kind of like consumed me. I really want to try and help Carl. Carl Brooks is the guy who asked me the question. I really feel as though I can. And this is me having a go, and it's a completely different twist. It's a little bit more personal, and it's a little bit more, it holds a little bit more weight for some reason. And I'm going to try my very, very best. I'm going to say right now that this may roll over the 8 minutes, but I've decided that the most important thing here is to answer the question and give my advice. And I think I want to start by saying fair play to Carl. I want to say Carl is probably one of the most authentic, honest guys I've ever met. And it takes a big set of balls to send a message to another guy and ask him to give advice on the regrets Carl is having. Now, the regrets Carl are having is that Carl was sitting there in his van last week regretting not doing more during lockdown, because now we're all back, well, some of us are back doing our day jobs. That emotion may start to creep in, because it's almost as though that door is shut. And you'll remember some of you, the die-hard Corona Diaries fans will remember my first ever video where it was all exciting in a weird sort of way. We had an opportunity, we had time, we could make plans, we could change things, we could grow as people. And as with all these opportunities and these best laid plans, if you're not careful, when you pop out the other end, that's when these negative emotions, regret, sadness, disappointment, can creep in, because you might not have leveled up to the standards which you set yourself. You might or you might not have, So Carl, the way I'm going to try and answer this question is, I want to deal with these feelings and the kind of regret itself, and you regretting not doing more during your time that you had off. Okay, so that's cool, right? What I will say is that you need to be very, very careful with regret. You need to be careful with regret because of two reasons. You need to really analyse what you're regretting, and you need to first and foremost make sure you're not just being really fucking hard on yourself. Yeah? You're not setting your stall out too high. If you're doing that, it's a little bit like that episode I did whereby people are trying to achieve an unreachable goal. You need to be really honest, and only you can answer this question. This is different for absolutely everybody. But are you just being a bit hard on yourself? From where I was sitting, from what it's worth, you seem to do a lot. Every time or the few times I spoke to you, you seem to be having a great time with your family. I seem to remember on Facebook you building sheds and doing all sorts of shit at home and getting all that, off your chest and off your plate. And from what I could see, from a business perspective, you did more than most, mate, okay? But that doesn't mean that you're not going to have regrets, because everyone's got different standards. So I just wanted to throw that in there, and I think that's where you start. Am I just being a bit of a dickhead to myself, okay? The second thing is, make sure what you're not really doing is comparing yourself to others, yeah? Comparison is without question the thief of joy. And if you're sitting there comparing yourself to what you think others have achieved, you'll never be happy. And the real twisted thing about that is, a lot of the time, the individuals who preach, the individuals who seem to be doing more than us, are doing it to put a front on. They're doing it because they want a quick fix. They want to tell the world that they're conquering it, because deep down they know they're not, okay? So they're two really, really important starting points when you have regrets. Am I being too hard on myself? And am I actually just comparing myself to other people? We have a really fucked up way of dealing with comparison as human beings. We seem to be obsessed with comparing ourselves to people who have more, and people who do more, and people who achieve more. But we don't spend any time comparing ourselves to either who we used to be or comparing ourselves to those who have less. If we tilted that balance ever so slightly, you'd probably realise just how much you've got to be grateful for. But they're just two little pointers I would like to make by starting this thing off. Now let's look at the fact that you are sitting in your van regretting stuff, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that you genuinely have deep regrets. Maybe you did fuck up. Maybe you didn't do enough, okay? Let's look at that. I'm going to start by saying you need to stop looking backwards, because it's fucking with your neck, okay? And what I mean by that saying is, in life, you're either going to win or you're going to learn. Now, this is one of those little sentences which always makes me smile, because when I say it, I believe it in my bones. But I am also awkwardly aware that when somebody on a video says you're either going to win or you're going to learn, there is a tendency and a possibility that people watching are just going to sit there going, oh, it's fucking great. Yeah, I like it when Dan says that. You're either going to win or you're going to learn. That's nice. And then do absolutely fuck all about it. Okay? You need to start listening to things like you're going to win or learn, and you need to start embodying them into your daily routine. It's all very well and good to believe that, but are you practicing that? Okay? So let's use this scenario under that pretense. Are you going to win or learn? So you clearly haven't won. Sitting in your van regretting shit is not a win. So you're going to learn, okay? So what you're going to learn, I'll tell you what you're going to learn. You're going to learn a few things. For me, if I was you, I would have learned what I am going to spend the rest of this year achieving. Those regrets, those things you wish you did, you need to get them down on a piece of paper. And you need to plan to get them wrapped up by the end of the year, okay? It's not good enough to just put them on a piece of paper, by the way. I'll tell you what else you probably learn if you're regretting anything. Your routine, your daily habits, your structure is not good enough. It's not good enough. If you find yourself filled with regret, business, work regret, I can almost guarantee that your daily habits aren't good enough. They need improvement. And what you're going to learn here, if you do this correctly, is all manner of things. Because when you write those regrets down on a piece of paper and that maps out your next 6 months, you then start to put structure into life. Now, again, I emphasize, yeah? You haven't ran out of time we're looking forward here. Our eye is on the prize, yeah? You need to make sure you do what you need to do so you don't then get to Christmas and you've doubled your regret. And the way you do that is by baby steps, small steps. The novelty's going to wear off. You're going to get to about a week of doing these things and you're going to run out of gas. You're going to get wobbled. That's when you push harder. We've spoken about it loads, okay? That is my advice as far as regret. Regret is one of those bad energies. It's a little bit like feeling sad, feeling down. Now, if you remember, what I do with these bad energies is I let them wash over me. I allow them to affect me. Then I get angry about them, and I need you to get angry about your regrets. And then once you've been angry about those regrets, you can turn it into energy, and it will give you the energy to, at the very least, get started. And when you get started and you start motoring through these things, you need to carry on, okay? And I'm going to end by being really, really honest, right? It was you, Carl, that inspired me when you introduced me to the phrase that taking in this education and not doing anything with it is a bit like buying an ice cream and letting it run down your hands, not eating it. Absolutely no different, okay? You cannot get a decent pair of pecs by reading about doing press-ups. Yeah, one of the greatest myths, one of the greatest shames is that you can become so addicted to the planning, the education, the knowledge, that you forget to take the action. You either forget to take the action, or you know that actually that is where the fear lies. That is where the unknown is. That is where the failure is probably gonna be. And that is something that only you or anybody else who is having regular regrets can deal with. You need to stamp down the inner bitch, you need to put a plan together, and you need to stick to the plan. And on the days you don't feel like sticking to the plan, you stick to that plan like glue, because they are the days that make the difference. I'm going to end by saying just a final thing, because I know, and I'm guilty of this myself, that you've got to be very, very careful. I'm not just speaking to you here, Carl. I'm speaking to everyone. I'm speaking to myself. In fact, one of the most amazing pieces of advice I've ever received in my life was from my wife about 7 or 8 years ago. And I was sitting, I was having a terrible time. I was doing something else. I was self-employed. And she turned around to me, she looked me square in the eyes, and she said one of the most honest things anyone's ever said to me. She said, "I think you like the idea of being self-employed." And although that drove me insane at the time, she was right. I like going to parties and telling everyone I have my own business. I like, the idea of it. Yeah, one day I'm going to have a company, and yeah, one day I won't have to work for it. I'll have residual income, and I just like the idea of it. I got obsessed with the idea of it. You need to be really careful. You're not one of these people who, when something like the coronavirus strikes, you don't like the idea of having all this time off, because that's a load of bollocks. That's going to get you absolutely nowhere, okay? Aspiring to success without taking action is like standing at the airport waiting for a boat. No different. So Carl, I'm going to make you accountable now, mate. I want to know that those things you regret not doing, I want to know at the end of this year that they are done. Get them done. I hope that's helped, mate. Okay? That's my spin on it. And thank you again for making me think so much about that. And I've got into 15 minutes for the first time ever, but if anyone ever asks me a question again, I have to put the soap in the water and I have to answer it correctly. Take care, guys. I'll catch up tomorrow.